Hey guys, what's going on? This is Pantstar Dragon, and today we'll be doing an analysis of the Black Cleaver and which champions it's good on. So if you guys haven't heard yet, they reworked the Black Cleaver and kind of changed it differently. It now builds out of a Phage and a Kindle Gem, and the stats are tweaked from the old Black Cleaver. And summing it up, basically the new Black Cleaver gives 200 health, plus 10 CDR, the amount of armor shred stacks is increased to 6 instead of 5, the Phage passive, and plus 2 duration on your Black Cleaver stacks, but at the cost of minus 10 damage and minus 10 armor penetration. And as you can see, some champions may want to avoid getting this item, while some other champions may want to emphasize on getting it even more now. And with all that being said, let's get started. Alright, so let's get into these stat changes and how they affect what champions should be prioritizing this item. So tanky champions, they want to get this item because it gives more health. Champions who cast their spell a lot. Champions who can do a lot of physical damage ticks. So like Pantheon's E, it applies 3 stacks in 0.75 seconds. Champions who auto attack and like sticking to their target. So we're thinking like someone like Vi. And team fighters, people who support their physical damage on their team since they're shredding the armor on their enemies. But now, as you can see, this item is actually worse for assassins, since they are removing some attack damage and armor penetration, which assassins do love. And also the thing about assassins is they want to take out their target swiftly and then get out. They don't really have enough time to apply those stacks and then do their damage, right? So that's why it's not good on those type of champions. To sum it all up, it's better on bruisers and worse on assassins now. Next up, I want to be going over Triforce vs Black Cleaver comparison because they are really similar items, since they both now have the Phage item and they're both good items on bruisers. Alright, so I was actually doing some research and kind of comparing them on numbers and stats and stuff, and so we're going to be doing a little bit of math and putting that in factor of my final opinion of what's better. So comparing these items, the gold efficiency is actually 126% for Triforce versus 99% for the Black Cleaver, as noted by the League of Legends Wikia, but it doesn't take in consideration what the passives are, and since both of them have the Phage passive, we can cancel them out. And then we're considering the Spellblade passive and Armor Shred passive only. I also want to bring in the Last Whisper as a factor of determining how much percent armor penetration is worth. So, as the Last Whisper gives 40 attack damage, and the gold value of 40 attack damage is only 1,440, that means we can say the passive is worth 860 gold, so we can use that as a base example for percentage armor penetration. And now let's go over the Black Cleaver's passive a bit. So first of all, it goes up to 30% of armor shred onto your enemy, but now you have to take in consideration it's actually not 30% at the beginning. Remember, you have to build up those stacks to get the actual 30%, and so it can take a while and it's not going to be right there and then. So that's minus on the gold efficiency, and it's also 5% less than a Last Whisperer. But now you have to also take in consideration that you may have AoE and you're trying to help your allies do more damage. It's not always going to be about you, right, Riven mains? And so let's just say someone like Wukong who can spread his damage all over the place. He can probably shred a lot of people's armor and give his team a free Last Whisper in that kind of sense. So we can give an estimate on how much the Black Cleaver's passive is actually worth. It's going to be a rough estimate, but I'm going to say around 700 gold. So Black Cleaver is worth 3,700 gold with its passive. Now let's calculate how much a Spellblade passive is worth on the Triforce. So right here on Sheen, it says basically the Spellblade passive is kinda worth around 256 gold. But remember, when you upgraded the Triforce, the base AD is doubled, so it's actually worth 512 gold on the Triforce. So the gold value of Triforce by itself is worth 4,675 gold, and with that Spellblade passive, it's actually worth 5,187. So we're looking at 3,700 gold versus 5,187. It's a pretty big difference, I know. And I actually think cooldown reduction is actually worth more than what it actually says. But let's go over some facts. Triforce may have useless stats for a champion, like mana or ability power, and also the Triforce costs more. You may not be able to proc the Spellblade a lot. Black Cleaver is more of a team support item, while Triforce, which is definitely not a bad thing because it makes yourself stronger. The only way the Black Cleaver can actually be better than Trinity Force is if you can apply a lot of stacks quickly, and in long team fights where you can get those 6 stacks. Otherwise, Triforce is probably better for bursting someone and just overall dueling. An example champion who'd probably prefer the Black Cleaver over the Trinity Force is Renekton, because he's not a fond user of attack speed, he doesn't use mana, crits aren't his kind of thing, and he really doesn't use ability power. But he stays in teamfights for a long time, so he can be applying those stacks constantly on people. He also really likes cooldown reduction, of course. Now let's look at Hecarim. He loves every stat from Trinity Force. And I mean, he is decent with the cooldown reduction, but it's just the raw stats coming from that Triforce, man. You can't deny that Hecarim doesn't want any of that. Anyways, I want to be going over core champions who would buy this every time, or at least mostly every time. Alright, so my man Wukong, he's gonna love this item for sure. He likes to shred a lot of people's armor, he has a lot of physical damage ticks with his ultimate, and he makes really good use of every stat on the Black Cleaver. You're probably gonna see this item every time you face a Wukong or have him on your team. Next up is gonna be Garen. You know, his simple combo is QE, he likes the health, he likes the cooldown reduction, and he's usually spinning around with his E. So you're gonna be shredding a lot of armor, especially on those frontliners. Then it's going to be Renekton, as mentioned earlier. All of his abilities except for his ultimate do deal physical damage, and most of them are AoE, so he's going to shred lots of armor in team fights. And he loves every stat coming from Black Cleaver, of course. Next up is going to be Gnar, and I actually think he's actually really good with this item since it gives him all the stats he wants, like the cooldown reduction, attack damage, and health. All of his abilities except for W do physical damage, and in mini Gnar he'll be doing Qs and AAs all day, so he's going to be shredding a lot of armor in team fights, and it may be a core item on him. I also did hear that Rek'Sai is good with this item too, but I have not experimented with her, but I don't know if it's going to be core on her. Now there are some champions who I would consider getting on it if I want to support my team, and these champions are Vi, Bruiser, Riven, Urgot, and Pantheon. The reason I have a question mark on Urgot and Pantheon is because I feel like these guys would prefer to get armor penetration rather than build something like a Black Cleaver, especially for Urgot, since he probably has better items to build than a Black Cleaver at the moment. But I do listen because they have a lot of physical ticks of damage, Pantheon's E and Urgot's E too, and that can be a lot of armor shred, but you probably won't ever see it on those champions. Vi and Bruiser Riven will stay in teamfights for a long time so they can shred a lot of armor with the Black Cleaver, and they also make great use of every stat there. But I do feel like Vi should go Triforce in most situations unless she wants to support her team, and Bruiser Riven should be going Bruiser and probably be going full AD unless her team needs another tank. Champions I wouldn't get this on are any AD assassins like Talon and Zed, or even full damage Riven, because they need armor penetration to take down those squishies quickly, and don't have enough time to apply those stacks, and usually don't stick around teamfights for a long time. And for my odd theory crafting, Lucian. Honestly on Lucian it's a bit weird since he is an AD carry, but if you think about it, Last Whisper is only 2,300 gold, while a Black Cleaver is 3,000. And Lucian has many procs with physical damage. For instance, his passive does 2 procs of physical damage, his Q is AoE, and the biggest thing is his culling, which has a lot of shots and ticks of physical damage. So before he enters a team fight, he can just use his R for poking them, and when he finally gets in range of his Q and auto attacks, he can start unleashing hell. And he does like cooldown reduction because he likes playing dash revolution with his E. He gets more health for survivability, and you know he does get the Phage passive for more kiting, so in all honesty, it's not that bad. But people will still probably go Last Whisper because, you know, it gets results. But I wouldn't be too surprised if I ever saw Black Cleaver replacing Last Whisper on Lucian. I just want to be the first to say it might happen, and if it ever does happen, then I'll be the first one to say it, and then maybe get, you know, noticed. Final thoughts on this Black Cleaver, you probably won't see it as often as you did before, since there's only a few certain amount of champions who use it to the maximum potential, and you know, assassins won't be building this anymore, so it is actually really limited on who is actually going to buy this every time now. Hey guys, so thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did enjoy this video, you'll enjoy maybe those two guys right up there. And yeah, I am Panther Dragon, and I'll see you guys next time.
Here we go. Baby, what you get your body from? Tell me what you get your body from. Baby, what you get your body from? Tell me what you get your body from.